You.
Hello, how are you?
Good and you.
I'm in the cheap seats back here.
I was gonna say, girl, what you guys crack me up.
The office is too small for two people.
I get it. I get it. Well, thank you ladies for sharing time with me today. And Yvonne, you and I are going to get together, schedule time before we end our call so we can go one-on-one with your report. So it's normally we like to have you look at the individual report so you understand what the topics are and each of the behavior traits, but I think you'll get the gist of it. I think really the purpose of this call with both of you and Chef Liz is to just focus on potential behavior resistance gaps that might, be become aware between you two, and we like to talk about it beforehand. So I hope this is something that'll be very positive, and I know Chef Liz is, very wants to, get off at a good pace and really create a good experience for you. So I hope that's something of value to you.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Okay. I'm going to, so Chef Liz, you got your printout, right? Liz, you have yours printed out already?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, got it. Because you froze, so that's why I just want to make sure that.
Yes. Can you hear me?
All right. I can, thank you.
Sorry.
She's frozen too, yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay, let's see. All right, so I'll first just go just the big picture, Yvonne. So each of these reports, they call it a managerial report. It is aligning each person with the assessment in each of these behavior traits. So I print out the report from both of your perspectives. So I put Chef Liz as the manager and printed hers out, and then I inserted your name as manager. So it will speak to you specifically as opposed to another person, right? It's going to all be in the language from what your behavior traits are and what you are, and then it'll also refer to the other person. Okay. So from what I want to focus on are any trait that is more than two numbers difference. So these traits are measured from a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is not bad, 10 is not good, vice versa. It's just a range of, let's just say, hot and cold of water, right? This is measuring each of the behaviors in extremes. So when it comes to pace, we talk about overall rate of task completion. This is where you are, a 2, and Chef Liz is, I believe, a 4. So we all can stretch 2 numbers either way, right?
Okay.
But it's like a rubber band. But what happens to a rubber band when you stretch it too far?
It snaps.
It snaps. Absolutely. So, well, our goal is to see where there may be some behavior resistance gaps that are more than 2 numbers, to where keeping on stretching that it may create that friction or that subconscious irritation within you, right? And we want to make sure that we're going to identify those areas first, and then we'll go through when you and I meet together, so you understand each of the behavior traits more specifically. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. Chef Liz, is there anything you want to share beforehand? Any questions?
No, I think it's all makes sense.
Okay. So when it comes to pace, Ivonne, it just talks about overall rate of task completion, and you both can stretch. When it comes to if there are any, say, priority tasks or projects, Chef Liz knows that, she's going to step up and share with you, okay, we gotta pick up the pace, or, you know, drop this project and let's work on this. This takes priority. So, and she's also going to share with you her list of certain specific examples of, you know, if this happens, drop everything and take care of that, right? So we made
Okay.
sure that there is proper communication between you and her,
Okay.
to where she'll share priorities if she has to get you off of one project to move to the other, because you are very methodical. You appreciate process and procedure, and that's something to really be proud of. But also, you know, with anybody that is more than two
Okay.
numbers difference in pace, just want to make sure that they communicate with you and say, okay, you can drop what you're doing and let's move to something else, right? And give you permission to
Yes,
do
sounds
that.
about right.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so next is assertiveness. Again, expression of opinions and need for control. You and Chef Liz are together on that, so in alignment. Sociability, desire for interaction with others. You're like a 5 or a 6. Chef Liz is a 2 or a 3, so you can stretch.
Mhm.
Tendency to where Chef Liz is probably going to be, you know, where she is in the up here strategizing and telling, you know, the staff what to do, giving directives. You
Mhm.
may be more visible with people, so
Yeah.
that's definitely, and you need that, right? That feeds you, right?
Yes.
So that's something to, again, to really be consciously aware of and know
Okay.
how to use that as a strength. Okay.
Okay.
Next is decisiveness. That's the use of speed and caution to make decisions, and especially if you're just starting out with a new position, just understanding the boundaries, what the job is about, just getting familiar with it. You're going to be more deliberate before you
Yes.
make a decision and jump into anything, right? So Chef Liz and I talked about that, and she's going to be mindful of, you know, giving you that confidence of, hey, you can do this, you know, this is what you do in case of this. So it'll help you get more confidence to make a decision on your own and feel comfortable with that.
Okay, awesome.
Okay. Accommodation, that has to do with the inclination to tend to others' needs and ideas. You two
Mhm.
are not too far apart there, so you both can stretch. Independence talks about the level of preference for instruction and guidance. You both, you know, both are in somewhat independent.
Mhm.
Chef Liz likes the fact that, you know, you are independent, that she can give you an assignment and you can run with it, right? You don't
Yeah.
that's what she's going to count on you for. So that's awesome. Judgment
Okay.
has to do with intuitive versus factual. So when we look at you know, making decisions, so if you're intuitive, that has to do with you're depending on your experience, past experience, intuition, gut feeling. Factual has to do with, you might want a resource, a written resource, something, maybe do some research on your own to back up your belief or thought process, right? It might
Mhm.
need a little bit more information to just kind of make sure that you're in tune with that, your gut instinct. But both you
Yeah.
and Chef Liz are very similar, so that's
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah.
When we talk about that pace, again, you know, you're very methodical. You like to take your time. And, you know, if there are any tight deadlines, Chef Liz knows to, you know, try to communicate to you as soon as possible to, you know, get some headway underneath you so you don't feel, you know, too overwhelmed or too stressed out. So it's one of those things to just be aware of, to be more communicative.
Okay.
So what I wanted to do on the back, so let's see. We'll talk about pace, sociability. All I'm doing is looking at the ones that are more than 2 numbers that could accommodation. Okay. So we're going to jump directly to the back. So hang on for a minute. So pace, we said pace. Let's look at sociability on this. All right, you can go turn to sociability. I don't know what page that is for you. Numeric number 5. So on the report, just look at numeric number 5. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm reading this from, do me a favor, Ivonne, if you could read where it says working together with Chef Liz,
Yes.
just read that section.
Okay, you and Liz Willard both tend to be reserved. She often likes to keep her head down at work, and you may appreciate that she doesn't get distracted from her obligations by excessively socializing. However, you may want to provide at least some opportunities for her to work in small groups so she can create stronger work relationships and experience the benefits of collaboration.
So what Chef Liz has shared with me is, she often and makes a conscious effort to go and meet with you all, meet with the kitchen staff. So that she really knows how important that is to the team, that she's present in the back at least, once a week, and that she's there providing her presence. And she shows that she's there for you all. So that's something that we discussed at our last call. So understanding that that's something that she values as well.
Okay.
Chef Liz, can you look up that number 5 under sociability, working with Ivonne, what that says, working together from your report?
Mine says the same thing.
It says, as far as working together from your standpoint, when you read it from your standpoint.
It says exactly the same thing.
Okay, so it doesn't say, so it'll say the same thing as you tend to prefer working alone?
It says you and Liz Willard both tend to be reserved. She often likes to keep her head down at work, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, what's the one that says consider this? Is it the same?
Respect Liz Willard's patient preference for working on her own. Yeah, it's the same.
Okay, cool. Because it's more than 2 numbers. That's why I was wondering if it would say something different. Okay, let's look at decisive. Okay, now this one, because even though you both are within 2 numbers, one person is on the left side of that white line and the other person's on the right side. So Ivonne, if you could read working together, that section.
You tend to be somewhat deliberate, while Liz Willard tends to be somewhat bold when it comes to making decisions. You may appreciate her ability to take decisive action and to stand behind her decisions with confidence. Still, at times, you may think she is too quick to act. When it comes to an important decision, she will likely put thought into it. However, she tends to come to conclusions much faster than you. This might give you pause, especially if her decision carries some perceived risk.
Okay, so Liz, what does it say under the consider this on your report?
Enlist Liz Willard's help when decisive action is required, a reminder to consider all the relevant details.
Okay, so even though you're close, right? You're within 2 numbers, you may perceive at times that she's quicker, right? And you may consider and say, well, do we really have all the information that we know or whatever? So you might perceive that she's quicker to make a decision, right? And you may perceive it as, well, do we need to take a little bit longer to consider something? So your perception just may be different, right? Okay,
Okay.
and the
Yeah.
last, as far as accommodation, so, that's probably gonna be close as well. Um, Yvonne, go ahead and read working together under the accommodation.
Yes, you and Liz Willard both tend to be steadfast in your viewpoints. Like you, she almost always resolves to stand by her position, and you likely identify with her tendency to stand firm in her principles. Furthermore, you may appreciate that she is willing to express disagreement and defend unpopular opinions if she thinks it's right. However, she may seem unnecessarily contradictory to others and may be focused on pursuing her own agenda. And because you share this trait, the two of you may be reluctant to compromise.
Okay, so, um, you both are close. So when we go to the back page, when we talk about certain circumstances, we'll be able to dive a little bit deeper on that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any questions so far about the 4 elements that we covered under pace, sociability, decisiveness, or accommodation?
No.
No.
Okay. All right. So let's go all right. Go to the very end, the back page. And we're going to talk through these 4. First one is pace. You're very steady. She's somewhat steady. Okay. So how, and it could be either one of you. All right. How do your similarities in pace affect your ability to work together effectively? Chef Liz, what would you think, if, comparing or considering your similarities in pace, how would you believe that it would affect your ability to work together effectively? And it could be from a positive or, it's open.
I was gonna say I mean, since we are pretty close, I don't think it will have a negative impact on us. I don't think we're that far apart.
Yeah.
I think in terms of pace, for me, and we've started trying to identify the things that are like, these are the things that have to get done every single day or get done on certain days. And as long as those types of things are being accomplished, then we don't have any negative impacts at all.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Next will be sociability. So what are the benefits of your shared introversion? That's the first question. What would you think, Liz?
I think we both have an ability to kind of process information on our own, figure out, what we think. And then before relying on having a conversation with other people. Which kind of goes hand in hand with the whole independent acting thing.
Yeah.
We're both kind of in that same
Right.
bucket.
Yeah, it's a combination, right?
Yeah. Think about it on your own, figure out what you think is the best thing, and then have a conversation about it, or just take
Yeah.
action on it.
Awesome.
Can I
Yeah.
comment?
Yes,
Sorry.
please. No.
And I think that the few differences that there are, I think they're complementing differences, for the most part, just because they balance each other out. Like when, like in the decision making, for example, I maybe take a little bit more information before anything. So I could help her out in the sense of like, she tells me a decision she's making and I could put in my, opinions and be like, hold on, wait, let's review this. So it kind of like, it kind of helps her in the sense of like, let's think about it first. And even for me, if I can't come to a decision, she could give me her input and then it could help me get towards, a decision. So I think that they're, for the most part, very complimenting.
I love it.
And each other out.
I think that's
Thank
true,
you.
too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was very nice.
Mhm.
What are the drawbacks? Can you see any drawbacks of your shared introversion?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would happen just because, for the most part, um, I feel like if in case she is not prepared to speak to people and things like that, I can always take over. Um, but I would say if we're both just not, in the moment to, but I feel like, I mean, we would both, take the initiative of just getting it done if needed.
And, when it comes to that sociability, and again, Chef Liz and I talked about that she had noticed that the staff likes it. And the kitchen staff likes it when she's back there and she meets with them and spends a little time with them.
Yeah.
So you being able to have that pulse, that sociability pulse, so to speak, is going to be important as well, to say, hey, they need some love back there, or
Yeah.
something like, so
Definitely.
being able to be sensitive to that. So that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so decisive. So we're going to look at, you're somewhat deliberate, she is somewhat bold. So when it comes to taking risks, how do your differences affect the decisions that you make together? So Liz, since you kind of perceive, potential scenarios, how would you answer that? When it comes to taking risks, how do your differences affect the decisions you make together? So she's deliberate and you're somewhat bold.
I think, like Yvonne said, I think it kind of balances out. I think they're very complementary. And I think it's a good thing that we're not in perfect alignment on that
Yeah.
particular one, because we do kind of balance each other out that way.
Yeah, I think it would be more of like, it may take a little longer to get to a decision because in the case we do not agree, but at least we pick our brains about it and, eventually it can come to a decision. So,
Well, and I just love the fact that sense of respect for one another. That's where, being deep rooted in respect for the other person is really a true foundational element, success element to that. So like you said, to hear one another out, what do you think, and I think that really is important as well. Last one is accommodation. So you're somewhat steadfast, Yvonne, and she's very steadfast. So do the two of you, as far as Chef Liz, do you think that the two of you would ever butt heads over differing views? So when it comes to accommodation,
We're both hard-headed.
Yeah.
So I think one of the really valuable things about doing this is it makes you aware of it.
Yeah.
So I think now we're both aware of it and we both know it's a tendency that we both have.
Yeah.
So whereas if we hadn't done this assessment and hadn't had this conversation, then we wouldn't be as aware of it. So then you would just butt heads and then we'd both be frustrated.
Yeah.
Whereas now we both know
know.
it's a tendency that we both have. And because we do have mutual respect for each other, we can kind of work together to come to a resolution for stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's a win-win, I think,
Yeah.
really.
I love that. That's absolutely just a beautiful testimonial to, the whole part of behavior diversity is about deference over difference, respect over looking at what we're not aligned with, right? Why are we different? So thank you for that. That really was nice.
I want to say something too. This is Ivonne knows she's the fifth person in this role. I made a concerted effort this time to try to find someone who would fit this mold. Even though you and I hadn't done this testing beforehand and I had never done this assessment with anybody else, I was really looking for somebody that checks all the boxes that Ivonne checks, somebody that is not afraid to think independently, somebody that can be strong in their convictions and not a wallflower, somebody that it is sociable, because that does balance me out too. That's good. Like I really think, like Yvonne said, a lot of the things that are where we are different are actually positive differences.
Yeah.
And they're not so far apart that I'm stretching to the point where I'm going to break, or she's stretching to the point where she's going to break, but we're just different enough.
But
Like
also very similar.
Yeah. If there's a perfect amount of differentness,
that's what it is.
or differentness in certain ways or differentness in certain areas, I think this is really, really good.
Yeah, I agree.
Liz, when we had to do the job match survey, when thinking about the position itself, and, when we were talking about the duties, what you would expect in the position, how did that add to maybe the depth of your reflection on the type of person that you wanted?
It definitely helped, and of course, it's always challenging because when you're doing it, you're not doing it for what the company is today alone. It's what the company needs today,
Becoming.
and as well as what the company is growing towards, because you don't want somebody like I had in the previous roles who I had some people who they were doing fine when the company was a certain size with a certain need, and then the company outgrew their abilities and they couldn't come along. So
Yeah.
doing the job match assessment with you, I very much had that in the forefront of my mind of where are we gonna be in a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now? And I tried to hire for somebody that had the ability to move right along all of those benchmarks for us.
Yeah, we're like not stagnant.
Well, and also
What I
Yvonne,
want, too.
to
Like, I want
Yeah.
for job satisfaction for Yvonne's
Yeah.
sake, I want her to have the opportunity to do more and take on more and, and she's got management experience and I can envision us getting to the point where, her role is such that she needs an admin to take on some of the, administrative tasks while she's doing, some bigger picture type stuff. So
Yeah.
that was
Well,
part
and
of
living up to her gifts as well, and when we talk, the next level, when we look at your multiple job matches, how do you take those different job matches and the skill sets that are in those different job matches and apply it to the position, to the company that you're in now? And that's what's so cool, is that you're able to really help people live up to their greatness and really maximize on their strengths through that. So I'm glad that, looking forward and wanting Ivonne to grow into and expand herself, but stay within your company. That's the whole point, is to feel more fulfilled in your role, right, within the company.
Of course.
Absolutely, yeah. It's always
Awesome.
better if you have the opportunity to promote from within.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much.
The stability and the
Yeah.
like the trust and
This is a difficult business and there's a lot to know about it. So, bringing in somebody from the outside at a high level is even more challenging than bringing them in at a lower level because there's so much more to take on board. I told Ivonne today that I wouldn't expect her to fully understand the intricacies of how this job, every little task in this job relates to other things in the company for at least 6 to 9 months, because there's just that much going on here.
yeah.
It's a lot of different layers, and we gather that information, like the dots start to connect, at a certain point.
Exactly. Yeah.
Definitely.
I love it. Okay, so those were really the only well, here, when it comes to independence, okay, you're both very autonomous. All right. You're very autonomous. Chef Lid's somewhat autonomous. Does the fact that you both like to do things your own way ever cause misunderstandings? Do you think that it would cause misunderstandings?
I mean, definitely. I mean, that's always something that's gonna happen. But I mean, with communication is always the key, just because again, you're never gonna see everything. You're never gonna agree to everything.
Right.
But if you communicate enough, like, let me show you what I see, and then you could show me what you see, that way we could see each other's different perspectives and say, okay, I may not agree with you, but I understand what you're saying, and vice versa. I think that helps out more than anything, because again, unfortunately, we will not always agree, and that's just something normal, but the communication,
and also being independent, you know, I'm a 10 on independence, so I know exactly where you're coming from. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm the type of person, and Liz and I talked about this. I'm the type of person, okay, let's meet like for my own team. I have a team member in Miami near you guys, and we have somebody in London. So once a week, like the beginning of the week, I meet with them and say, okay, this is our plan and our priorities for the week. Well, I need to meet with everybody for 15 minutes in the middle of the week, because what I found is, okay, we meet on a Monday, and then on Friday I'm emailing and say, okay, what do we got done? And if something has, you know, if somebody ran into a gist or, you know, didn't get finished, I'm like, well, what do you mean? Like, well, how come nobody told me, right? So, but
Yeah.
I'm a 10. So I just do this and I'm gone. So that's
Yeah.
what I said, for us who are higher on independence, it's best for us to meet on Monday or Friday, in your case, to plan for next week. Like sometimes we do that. And then midweek, have a checkpoint, a 15-minute or an email that says, okay, where are we in our week priorities, or how's it going? You know, a touch time in the midweek.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the week, say, okay, what's the plan for next week? Or, you know, what did we accomplish? So it's just important, because those of us, we see if we're a 8, 9, or 10 on independence, or any of the numbers, right? We view the world, we perceive the world from those numbers. So somebody who's an 8 or 9 on pace will never know what life is like or the world is like for somebody who's a 1, 2, or 3, right?
Yeah.
So we just really have to take who we are, and then when it comes to fitting communication around that, just making sure that
Of course.
we don't say, oh, okay, what? Okay, well, I know we talked on Monday, but what has happened? You know?
Yeah.
Let's
I think the
see.
good thing too about the independence thing is also, there are areas of Yvonne's job that I plan to give her total autonomy in. You know, when she's been here long enough and she's
Got the hang
you
of
know, kind of
things.
get the hang of everything and understands what's going on. I'm looking forward to being able to give
Exactly.
her
Yeah.
Yeah.
that freedom and
Yeah.
ability. So it was important to me to find somebody that does have a strong sense of independence, because that was one of the problems that I've had in the past, where I've had office managers who were not comfortable making even the most insignificant of decisions.
Yeah.
Right down to, should I send this email?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And as a CEO, you can imagine that is really not the highest and best use of my time.
Yes.
Being on something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just really can't spend time on that. Okay.
Exactly.
I can't spend time on that. When it comes to another thing about the judgment, because you're somewhat intuitive, Yvonne, and you're somewhat intuitive, Chef Liz. So when we talk about, you know, again, using your gut instinct, all right, and your past experiences. So what problems could you encounter by following your gut instincts to make decisions together?
In my life, the only time I've made a bad decision is when I went against my gut.
Yeah.
I have really, I'm an empath and a highly intuitive empath at
Yeah.
that. So, I have really strong intuition stuff.
Got it.
Yeah.
And so you're
And
both similar to that. So it's not like, you know, Yvonne is on the factual side and would question, you know, like going, oh, she will not have to overburden you with a bunch of, you know, facts and saying,
Like,
you
yeah,
know,
like you need to look at this first. Yeah.
exactly. That's pretty much the gist of that one, Chef Liz. Okay.
Yeah.
Yvonne's not going to bury you under unless that's something that you say, hey, you know, when it comes to making such and such decisions, I want you to give me some, you know, like
Yeah.
3 backups, like 3 estimates or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Something
Yeah.
like that.
Sure.
But you'll need to communicate that to her, because she would just go on her gut, right? So when you do want more factual information, you'll need to be direct about it. Liz,
Yeah.
you'll need to ask her. So, okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, here's a good
I
one
think it's
though.
also important, sorry,
No, go ahead.
just again, just reiterating on communication, which Liz is very good at, is just, when you do have that instinct, and I could be of help, before we get to that decision,
Yeah,
just
exactly.
think
Yeah,
about it. And, I could always be like, well, if that's how you feel, then, by all means, and vice versa. So,
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. And also if there's something that maybe you have a different opinion on, to know, have one type of supporting fact or resource,
yeah,
that to substantiate, right, what your belief is. So, or what your philosophy is or what you recommend. I think that would still be helpful as well.
yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
so let's see. Oh, okay. This is one. Conformity. You're somewhat strong-willed. Chef Liz is very strong-willed. So because you both have a willingness to push back on policies or supervisions or question something, when do you see that could be a problem or cause difficulties?
Mm, I mean, as of now, I honestly don't see it, just because based on my experience so far, um, and I feel like that's how I am, that I may be strong-willed, but I'm also open-minded, where again, if I may not agree with you, I'll still look, into what your point of view, and I would always take it into consideration. I might not still agree, but I think so. For me, I haven't, based on my experience, I don't think as of now that it would cause any difficulties, because again, I I would give my input on what I think should change or anything of that sort. And if she doesn't agree with it, then, I'll stick with it, but I might make an argument. I might have a document with,
Right.
points of like, I stuck with it, but this is what has happened because of sticking with it. So I think that we should change eventually, so that's at least how I see it. Um,
Well, I know Chef Liz and I spoke about that, and what I really appreciated, Liz, what you said was you wanted somebody to question. You wanted somebody, if there's a process or procedure that doesn't seem, or if it seems redundant, or if, superfluous or needs to be changed or updated, you wanted somebody to speak up, right?
yeah,
Yep, definitely. Yvonne and I have already talked about different areas
yeah,
where she's got some ideas, and we're gonna meet with the team tomorrow to get some input from them, because what we're talking about, the changes we're talking about making are gonna impact them directly, so we want their feedback on and their collaboration with us to make sure we move together in the right direction, so that it makes everybody's job a little bit easier and a little bit less redundant.
yeah. And so that's
Awesome.
what I mean. Like, we're very strong-minded on what we think, but we still take into consideration of others' opinions.
That's great.
That's what I noticed how this is, and I'm the same way. That, yeah. So I think that's the
Favorite part about owning my own company is that I no longer have to enforce policies that I don't believe in. Anytime you work for a corporation and you're a manager in a corporation, you are hamstrung by the corporate policies, whether you agree with them,
Or
whether you
not.
fight against them, whatever the case may be, how
Yeah.
unfair you think they might be. And I love that I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And pretty much the policies, my whole mindset about policies in my company is just about what's gonna be fair.
Of course.
That's what matters to me the most. What's gonna be fair, what's gonna be equitable, and what's gonna benefit employees the most. Because one of our underpinnings of our company isn't just making our clients' lives better, but it's also making our employees' lives
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, Liz, that is just really some foundational culture, that is should be awarded, because literally it's got to be a win, like for us with Better Job Fit, it's got to be a win-win-win-win.
Yes.
Not just two-way, not just three-way, but four-way. So, yeah, and it's interesting, traditional policies, they're established and then nobody revisits them, right? They just
Yeah.
say, oh, well, we've done that. It's been that way. We've always done it that way. Well, guess what? You might need to
Yeah,
change
and-
it,
And I think that was like one of the points that we bonded over in our interview, in my interview, because we talked very in depth about that. So that was for me one of the most important things, that as to why I made the decision that I made of joining the team, because I think that's important as well. Because if an employee feels appreciated and an employee feels like, they're taken into consideration and not just another number or things like that, they will go far for the company, and so
that's exactly right. And,
Yeah.
even more, I mean, even more since COVID, when people's values have shifted and behaviors have shifted, it's more and more important to find that connection with others, that, of that value and valuing other people. And
Yeah.
I believe that people recognize that, that it really does stick out. I think those were the big ones that I wanted to cover. Any questions that you have about the summary or
no,
about
I don't have any.
how do you like this segment of this assessment, when we sit down and talk about these individual potential resistance gaps?
I find it interesting because when I took the assessment, I didn't know what to expect. And I'm like, I was just curious on how we would get to this. I was not expecting this to come out of that assessment. And I had told her afterwards, I didn't go too much into depth because I knew we would talk about it, but I said, some of these questions are hard because you want to answer both, and
Right.
you're like very in the middle, and so, and even with like the math stuff, so it was very, for me, I didn't know what to expect. So it's interesting how that assessment led to this, and I think it's a good system just because I do feel like this explains me very well. So from I agree with both. Which one should I go with? The fact that it did give a good summary, I think is amazing. And I wasn't expecting that.
I
So
love it.
I
love it.
enjoyed.
Good. Chef Liz?
I think it does a really good job of really accurately capturing who we are.
Yeah.
I've done all the tests, the Myers-Briggs and the Strength Finder and all the things. I was one class away from having a second major in psychology, so I love all that stuff. I find it fascinating, but I think this really is so on target.
Yeah.
When I got my personal assessment back from you, I was like, damn.
Me to the T.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
I love it. I
There's
love
no hiding here. If
Yeah.
I wanted to, there's no hiding here.
it.
There was nothing, there was nothing of everything. And so there was really nothing in it that I was like, I know that about myself. But it was interesting to get it validated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like based off of certain questions, that this is what it got and it was correct. I think that to me, so I thought it was pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, then let's schedule, Yvonne, when you want to, take some time to go over your individual report, right? And we're going to
Okay.
talk about, a little bit, we'll take pieces of your multiple position report and your leadership report and kind of just share some things to get you even more pumped up to what your gifts are and how to use that in your current position, if that sounds good to you.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Do you want to make that appointment now?
Yeah, we could, you're on the West Coast, correct?
East, Central, I'm on Central, so I'm 1 hour behind you.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
And do you have a specific time that works best for you?
What's today?
I-
Today is the third.
I have
Today's
training
12th.
this week, always at 4:30. So I would say anytime before that, it could be early in the morning, like midday to afternoon, as long as it's before
What,
4:30.
before 4:30?
Yes, my time, so that would be 3:30 for you.
Got it. What about
Oh, she cut off.
15th? 3 days from now?
Sorry, could you repeat that again?
Sure. Friday, September 15th.
Oh, I won't be here. That's
Okay.
my birthday.
Oh,
Yes.
hey. Okay, let's look at
Thank you.
the week of September 25th.
Okay, yeah, we could do September 25th.
Uh,
The week we could do Tuesday, Wednesday. Up to you.
How about Wednesday?
Okay, Wednesday works.
What time is good for you?
I think in the morning, I would say 10 o'clock your time.
Okay, so 10 my time, 11 your time.
Yes.
All right, individual, multiple, and leader. Okay, so I'll send you the calendar invite and meeting link. We have 10 a.m., 11 a.m. Eastern on September 27th.
Okay.
Awesome, and then I'll send you the reports beforehand like I did today, and then we'll just review them and get you squared away. How about that?
I look forward to it.
Awesome. Chef Liz, is
Awesome.
there anything else I can do for you? Is there any questions?
No, I think this was great. I think it's really very valuable. I appreciate it very much.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I hope you have a fantastic birthday, and I hope you
Thank
guys have a
you.
great remainder of your week.
Thank you.
Thanks, you too, Jen.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.